Once you find yourself in conflict with a narcissist, it's a virtual guarantee they're going to start playing head games with you. That's why I put together a new course. It's very extensive called Anger Games. I'm going to teach you how to manage anger and conflict with a narcissist. There's a link below that's going to show you how to register, and I hope that you find it to be very insightful. Hi, Team Healthy. Gus and I welcome you to this latest episode of Unbound. This is where I take questions and comments from you, and we can kind of get an idea of where you as the viewers are coming from in your own personal life, and it allows me to speak into that in a little bit more of a specific way. Now, today, I want us to talk about how narcissists will come toward you with a selective memory, particularly when you want to hold their feet to the fire, or you want to talk with them about some problematic situations. They can just play the, I don't know what you're talking about game all day long. And I've got two good illustrations of how this works here from what you've written in. And I'm going to give you some foreshadowing right up front. We're going to be talking heavily about how the narcissist can be very prone towards passive aggressiveness and incredibly prone towards gaslighting deluxe. This is what these two illustrations give us. So let's take a look at what you've written in and see if we can figure out how this might apply to where many of you would find yourselves. The first person writes in and says, would you explain why narcissists remember everything except when they're cruel and vindictive? It seems to me that he was being selected by remembering neutral issues or what he's comfortable with, and then conveniently forgetting when he was cold-hearted, cruel, vindictive, sadistic, and vicious. That's not a good list of adjectives there, is it? Can you explain this? Well, what we have here is, let's keep in mind, narcissists are deeply, and when I say deeply, I can't say it strongly enough, profoundly committed to their false self. And then that means right on its heels, they are profoundly committed to alternate reality. They have to see themselves as being the better person. And they have to have a positive self-esteem, even if they have to build it upon one lie after another. Go figure, but that's the alternate reality. In other words, they like to make up the truth as they go along. For example, if they scream at you, they can say something like, well, it's not nearly as bad as you try to make it out to be. I've had so many situations where someone would come in and I learned that they had done some really bad things, throwing things and pushing and shoving and all of that. And then somehow, particularly after we get through the first wave of, oh, that wasn't really good, they start going into revisionist history. It's like, look, I know that you think it was that bad, but it really, when you get down to it, it's nothing worse than what you've done, etc. So they'll do something like that. They simply cannot take accountability and say, I've got some serious problems here, don't I? And I've treated you poorly, and I'm going to have to take a hard look at that. I need therapy. I need to have some healthy accountability. I'm deeply regretful of the things that I've done. They can't go into that in any kind of meaningful kind of way. Now, this person says that instead, they remember neutral issues or the things that they're comfortable with. And I can just imagine this woman calling this guy out, and he might say something like, well, does this mean that all those times that I helped you out with these projects, are you just going to overlook all of that? Or don't you remember how nice I've been to your family or to your friends? I mean, nobody's been as good to them as I have, and you know it. Or they might say something like, does this mean that you've forgotten all of the good times that we've had? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Now, that's the gaslighting, because what they're doing is they're shifting gears. And they're saying what you're talking about is not relevant to me or something I don't want to get into. When in fact, it may be that some of what they're saying is accurate. Maybe they have treated your friends well, or maybe you have had good times, but that doesn't excuse the cold-hearted, cruel, vindictive, sadistic, and vicious times either. Basically, when they go into this selective memory, what they're saying is, I don't do accountability. I've learned a long time ago that when we start talking about my personal issues, somewhere, somehow, I'm going to be shamed. and I'm going to be told that I'm no good. I've had way too many of those kind of experiences in my past, and you're not going to be the next person in line that's going to do that to me. And so what they're doing is they're showing you some of the unfinished business that's a part of their deep history. It's like I cannot look at my shadow self. I cannot look at my strains and difficulties. It's too painful, and I just make the assumption that you are going to be the next person that's going to slap me around psychologically, and it hurts too bad. And basically, what we see is narcissists have, I was going to say lost, maybe they never had it. They don't have the capacity to just sit down and say, let's be objective. For example, in my therapy office, I would talk with folks. Okay, when you get angry, what are you trying to accomplish? What's going on inside there? And I'll go inside, and it may be that there's something right or appropriate that you're wanting to accomplish, but you're communicating in such a foul way that it loses whatever good meaning it might be. Let's take a look at why that is. And why do you lose your reasonableness by being unreasonable towards other individuals? I mean, those kind of things would be part of what we deal with in counseling. Narcissists can't do that because they have so much of their own self-loathing, frankly, that guides them. And when I say self-loathing, it's like I absolutely hate the side of me that's imperfect. I hate the fact that I don't do everything right. That is off limits. We cannot talk about that. I have way too much shame about it. We're just going to say it doesn't exist. How about that? That's how I solve my problems. Not a very good way to go. Now we have another one of a little bit of a different nature. This person says, I have a friend who is evasive, but in a friendly sort of way. He says he wants to hang out with us and then he ghosts us when we're supposed to meet up. There's always some sort of lame excuse, and he jokes about how forgetful he can be. Sometimes, though, he shows up and it seems okay. I just wonder what he really if he really wants my friendship, since overall he's hit and miss at best. It's like he's a commitment phobe. Now, this is kind of that lovable, irresponsible kind of a person that we all have known. And you can say something like, hey, let's go do such and such. And that person can say, oh, great idea. I'd love to. When do you want to go? Well, how about Saturday at this time? Okay, I'll be there. And then it's been a few days that's passed. You don't hear from that person. You've got some plans with other folks. It's like, well, is Joe going to show up or not? I don't know. And sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. What's that all about? Well, as far as I'm concerned, when that person says, I'd love to do it, that was just pure BS. Those of you who are not in America, it's bull hockey manure. And it's like, I'll just say whatever's convenient in the moment, because you see, all I'm about is superficial appearances. That's it. I'm superficial. I'm shallow. Delving and looking into me is not something that I do. And then if you call them out and say, well, you are being kind of selfish or you are being kind of insensitive, they can just sidestep it and say, no, I'm not. I just forgot. Well, okay, one time, we all forget some things here and there, or something comes up, etc. But when it's an ongoing pattern, that's the person's gaslighting. They're trying to make you think that what you perceive is not accurate. But it's also very passive aggressive. Now, this young man that we're talking about may not necessarily look angry, but down at the base of this evasiveness, and them just not remembering things in the way that you want and all. It's their way of saying, I really hate accountability. I really hate it when people require things of me, and I'm going to show you. Nobody tells me what to do. Now, rather than saying it in a loud and forceful, fist in your face kind of a way, like that first one, who's the cruel and vindictive person, this person can express their anger very quietly, very passively, with a grin on their face, and say, go figure, I forgot, or something else came up, or I meant to call you. But it's their way of saying, A, you don't really matter that much, and B, don't you dare think that you're going to have any kind of input in my life. Nobody does that to me. I hope you get the message loud and clear. That's quintessential passive aggressiveness there. By the way, when this guy says, "Well, I meant to do it, but I didn't. I wasn't available," he's kind of playing a game of hide and seek. And the analogy that comes to my mind is, let's say you have a little 3-year-old child and you're playing hide and seek in the house, and the 3-year-old goes underneath the table and does like this. And they're hiding and doing like that. It's like, you'll never catch me. That's kind of what this guy's doing. It's like, as long as I can't see you, and as long as I don't have you in my field of view, then everything's okay. And it's a very childish way to engage with people. Now, the challenge this leaves you is, how are you going to remain healthy when you're in the presence of someone who does a lot of revisionist history, or they have a selective memory, or when they focus on the things that they want to put them in good light, and they refuse to engage in honest discussions. By the way, this last one says, on the person that doesn't show up, I think he's a commitment phobe. I think it's more accurate to say he's an honesty phobe. Honesty scares me. That's what phobia is. No, I don't want to be honest. And when you examine this and you see there's a lot going on behind the scenes in either one of these scenarios, it reminds you, I have a willingness to be available. I have a willingness to engage well and to be healthy and conscientious and tuned in, etc. But a relationship is a two-way street. And with narcissists and their core selfishness, it's like, well, you may think that way, but it's one way as far as I'm concerned. As long as I'm winning, as long as I get my way, hey, we got a great relationship. And that being the case, then you want to measure that person's capability and then ask, is this somebody that needs to be inside my inner circle? Of course, my response would be, and I suspect you'd agree with me, that's not somebody that you want to have as an ultimate intimate, or somebody that you share your heart with in the fullest way. If all they're going to do is step all over it or deny and not reciprocate goodness, then you're going to be on the losing end of that equation every single time. Now, I hope that our discussions like this can give you some good awareness of what you're dealing with. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. I consider it a privilege when you allow me to be on your journey with you. Now, when we're talking about this, you know that I've mentioned so many times that therapy could be a good option for you. Many times you get into these perplexing kind of situations, and the gaslighting and the passive aggressiveness can be so confounding to you that you say, I could use some help. We've been sponsored for years by the folks at BetterHelp.com. It's an online therapy resource. If that would be the direction you would like to go, please do yourself a favor and get the help that would be necessary. All you have to do is go through the link that we have provided beneath the video here. And as the need is warranted, then go ahead and get the assistance that would be good for you. Now, in addition, I really hope that you'll check out my courses. This is on my website. I have courses on anger management called Anger Game. I have another course on boundaries called This Is Me. Another one about finding yourself, free to be, finding yourself despite the controller. And then another one about healthy connections, Ready, Set, Connect. Each course has at least 25 teaching videos and handouts and all. Gus has the itchies over there. Yeah, you're okay, Gus. You'll be all right, little man. Anyway, we have those, and we also have my webinars, which are 90-minute PowerPoint presentations. I put them out there because I have a deep history of seminars and workshops, etc. In addition, I have my articles, my books, so we have lots of resources on the website. Avail yourself to that as the need would be there. Now, narcissists can have selective memories. They can twist you around when you try to bring things up. Don't fall into their gaslighting and don't fall into their games, because that's all it is, game playing. They're posers, and you want to understand that. Instead, I'm hoping you can say, well, I want relationships that are anchored in authenticity and conscientiousness. And if that's not something that the narcissist can manage, then you can go your own way towards other individuals who do have much more of a healthy way of life. You owe that to yourself to do that.